Alright.
Hey girls, what's up? No, just
Okay,
kidding.
what structure do you want to go over first? Let's go over Kelsey's.
So mine, the way I organized it, I first started off distinguishing graffiti from vandalism, then I talked about the history, and then its significance of the movement itself to modern culture today.
I like how you compared both of them because a lot of people think that they're the same, like vandalism and graffiti,
Yeah.
but like how you described, I think vandalism is like when you destroy something, when you don't have permission to like paint on something unless like it's a mural or it's like maybe a famous artist that's getting paid to actually do it. And then yours.
Oh, I liked the structure of yours, how you I like how, like, the PowerPoint itself, like, show the different pieces that you're talking about.
Should I maybe have talked about the history first?
I thought, like, separating, like, this is this and that's that,
And
then the history made it, like, oh, okay, yeah. So
because I mean, no matter where you put the history, like you're telling people, like, oh, this is the history of this, so they understand it more. Cause
First
some people,
defining it.
yeah, some people may not know what it is. They don't understand. So.
Okay.
And then yours is totem poles.
I talked about totem poles. My structure, how I kind of went off was, I went about the history, and then I talked about the different. Well, I talked about where it was first, like where my totem poles were at. The history of the totem poles I was talking about, the different types there, and then each meaning of. So I kind of like went from broad to like really, like.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. But you couldn't see any of my pictures, which kind of made me really sad.
Yeah, I had that like preparation and the eye catcher. I didn't really like see an attention getter, but it was very informal and I liked how it was audience related. And you did good with like just your relaxing about when you spoke. Like you were totally chill.
It was so upsetting though because it wasn't like
For
there
the
to show like the visuals because there was a lot of this has this part right here, so it's kind of how that structure went down.
I did like your organization though because like I've heard of totem poles, but I've never like seen huge ones like that. And I like how you went through the history and like where they're at, and like you went to go visit it, so it's kind of like a personal experience. So we could actually like know Canada. What else did you have in there? Oh, you had the different meanings, and I like how you explained a certain like totem pole, and you like went over everything.
The rose coal.
Yeah, that one was really cool. And I liked how you described like what it meant to the person. Like you kind of described what it meant to you. I like the organization of that.
Thanks.
Okay, so mine was about Banksy. And the first thing I talked about was about him, like his identity.
Ooh, I thought what was cool is how you said no one knows who he is.
Yeah, no one knows who he is. The style of his work, the money that he doesn't make. Next, I talked about the social movements that he was a part of. And then I want to talk about the anti-war movement, which is one that he does a lot. And then, of course, my conclusion.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect organization. I would have done it that exact same way.
I mean, to like change it, I don't know. Maybe I would have talked about each one like more in detail. But I feel like if I did that, it would go like off topic a little bit.
I like how it was the social movements included the anti-war, and the anti-war was your next, like, a good transition.
Yeah.
I feel like my transition, too, was a little bit better than last speech.
Oh, I wrote that down. I said you were better at like the pauses and the flow, but I did
It's not
say
as awkward.
I did say your transitions though. You said like and like you would say a sentence and then say and then say a sentence and then and. So like maybe just transitioning from one thought to another better.
Yeah.
But the flow itself was a lot better.
Because I remember him saying, like, make sure you, like, emphasize each point over and over again. Because, like, in speeches, like, people forget and...
I wrote that down, too. Your introduction, you, like, went off the 3 points. Like how we did that one day. So that was good. And I also thought you had a really good attention getter.
I remember it. Do you remember my attention getter? I don't remember it.
Yeah, I might have been talking about,
but
like,
I like how
have you seen graffiti downtown? Sorry, it cut off, so we're starting from
So we
5
think
minutes.
we left off on where she was saying how
The attention getter.
attention getter downtown, how we live downtown and how it's kind of just an art district, which I think is really cool because both of their art like their art objects considered the street art and the graffiti and the vandalism and stuff. So I mean, it's really cool. I would kind of say that Banksy could possibly be considered vandalism, but no one really cares because he's a well-known artist.
Mhm.
Because he doesn't get the permission and no one really
Yeah.
knows who he is.
According to how Kelsey was saying, the definition of vandalism, without permission, doing it when no one else is there. I'm gonna say something else. Also with your organization, because you did a Prezi, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that because like it's more like it keeps the person engaged, your audience engaged. I liked how you organized everything, like you went from one point to one point. Also, your transitions were good too. I remember that.
Thank you.
You did go over time though.
I did.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe
That's
it was
another time thing. I was under last time.
Yeah.
But you, like, covered
kind of
every-
like sped up
Yeah.
afterwards.
Mhm.
It was just like you took a deep breath and just like cut some things out if
Mhm.
no one would have
Yeah.
ever noticed.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I liked how there was 3
Face
things
mask.
on graffiti.
Yeah, there was a lot
And
of.
they were completely different though.
Yeah, that's a good thing too. I mean, because if it was the same, our audience would be very bored.
Yeah.
And especially, well, going back to your like art, your pictures, like even though you didn't have your pictures, like you still explained everything. And you're like, this picture would have been this, and like you still went over. Like,
Yeah, it was very like
you
audience
still went
driven.
over
so,
like the points. Like you didn't like get frazzled by it. You're like, oh no, they're not there. Let me just go this. Let me just go
Mhm.
over
I
what would have
tried
been.
to-
everybody was so engaged, like
Oh, I
regardless.
hope so.
I hope I engaged
I had at
them.
least 4 minutes with everybody.
With organization, is there anything you guys would have changed about your speech?
The pictures being there. No, organization. I think I would have practiced more with the presentation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just so that way I personally would have thought it flowed better.
Mm-hmm.
For mine, I liked like the organization and everything that I had, but like when I practiced it, I was going over time. I just didn't know what to cut out. That was the hard thing for me because everything was like important to
Yeah.
the major points. So it was just like picking what I could take out of my thing. to
I
make.
wonder, like, even for yours, like, since you did go over time, would you have focused, like, more on vandalism or, like, I guess, like, graffiti? Or would you have, like, done both, or would you?
Most of the time I spent on
Mhm.
defining it, like differentiating it from vandalism, and I spent a little bit of time just on the social movement itself. So
Mhm.
maybe I could have just cut out the vandalism part.
Yeah. I mean, just to
A little
understand
bit.
both, I mean, you probably would have to talk about both, but,
Mhm.
I mean,
like it was like all
Those-
things
yeah.
were important, so it was hard.
that's just interesting to think, like, oh, maybe I could have spent less time on this, or
Mhm.
more time on it. What is it at?
It's at 3:14. I think we have to go until like 3:30, so it's been a pleasure
But-
working with you girls. Catch us back after this next speech if we have another peer discussion. It's been real.